Hey everyone, we made it. We're better late than never, but we have made it. This is Helene from Triangle Veg Fest, Virtual Veg Fest, Veg Fest Expos, and the Plant-Based Network. And it's nothing like, trying to go live when there's technical issues, but there are. But you know what? We moved Omowale to his phone instead of his computer. And this is going to be really cool because this is one that I definitely wanted to have happen. I definitely wanted this to happen today because it was so important that we have this talk. It's relevant. So first, let me say thank you to Superior Electrolytes. They are sponsoring our talks this week. They're one of our awesome, really cool vendors. You can check their stuff out online. You can buy it locally, I'm pretty sure, because Seth is on Long Island. So the other thing is, please subscribe to the Virtual Veg Fest YouTube channel. That would be wonderful. You can watch all our videos there. And also, of course, you can go shop on virtualvegfest.com. Now, I have a person who also does VegFest with me today. He is the founder of Black Vegfest in Brooklyn. And he's obviously in New York City, which is a whole other conversation we could have that we're having right before we went live, which is really cool. I have not met him in person, but I have interacted with him and seen his posts in our special group for organizers of VegFest. But that's not the reason why we're here today with Omowale. We are here because of his 7 points of allyship for the white vegan community in defense of Black lives. And what I'd like to do today is have him introduce himself and say a little bit more about him. And then let's go through those 7 points because, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. So let's start unpacking it and get some more allyship for what's going on in our nation. Right?
Yes. So all of a sudden it's very windy. But thank you very much, Helen, for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for everyone else who is joining this conversation. And I'm going to get right into it. I haven't had much sleep, so I'm pouring it all in. And yes, they're definitely protesting out there. So Black Veg Fest has 7 points of allyship for the white vegan community in defense of Black lives. We are certain that there are white folks in the community, especially the vegan community, and who already understand compassion, already understand sense of justice, and they want to see that happen. So there are principles, for us to do that in every situation. In any scenario around the world where you have oppression, where you have certain conditions that you have to get through. So I'm going to go through the first one. And first point is apply vegan ethics of compassion to Black lives in defense of Black people. So I'm going to read all the pieces and not the paragraph. I'm asking everyone to go to Black Veg Fest, read the entire paragraph, and including the intro. It's just 2 pages. Now, but what I'm going to do here is kind of go into what that actually means. How does this make sense? When we apply vegan ethics, essentially, we look at who we're assisting based on their needs. So we approach from a position that we want to assist, we want to help, not to bring our messaging or change the particular narrative. So it's very important that we are upholding these kind of principles to respect life, right? So that's number one thing, is just having compassion, for Black people. So that's the first point. Second point, respect Black space. So now, Black Veg Fest, when we have our Veg Fest, of course, it's open to everyone. We state that. We try to be transparent and very clear with all our messaging. So let me clarify this. Respect Black space is generally don't just all of a sudden assume that you're necessary to a particular space of Black space. So if we think about the U.S., right, we have to understand that Black folks or any POC, people of color, have a small amount of space to actually work with. right? So we're talking about workspace, we're talking about living space, we're talking about space where it is clean, beautiful, and people, it's a social space where we can go ahead and play. So in New York City, where I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, so just so people are clear, all five boroughs are New York City. I want to be clear with that. New York City composes five boroughs. It's not just Manhattan.
Right, and don't
So
forget Staten
living in the
Island.
city, right? Staten Island is in there too.
It's like the step cousin.
Unfortunately, right.
I'm
It
from New
is
York. I
equal
can
to
say
us.
it.
So we, in my community, as a Black person, we just constantly, just always, we want to find social space that is beautiful. Why is it always in the white community? It's essentially always in the white community. It's very well kept. Now, those are taxpayer dollars. That's not particular interest, but that tends to happen a lot. So that even shrinks the space even more. When we talk about resources, we have less resources, right? White folks have more resources. So that also shrinks the resources, you see. So every single thing we could think of, our space is shrinking. So when you come into that space, um, now another piece that I have to unpack, in terms of space, when we talk about where we are in 2020, we can just go back only 60, 70. How many people we know who might be in their 80s? We just go back 80 years. We're talking about small space, but we're also talking about a community that's very fragmented. So our community is very fragmented, right? You understand how we got here. So we're not immigrants, right? We didn't come here for a better way of life. Matter of fact, we're the only people, Black people, who did not come here for a better way of life. So, essentially, generally, we do understand that it's Pan-African or Pan-Black people come from other spaces, but the majority didn't come for a better way of life. So when we get here, we know that we might have been at different plantations all over the world, right? All over just this nation. Let's just focus on this nation. We're just at different plantations. And this was split up. We were split up systematically. So therefore, we just got to learn how to connect. So we're always connecting and always learning how to connect. So when you come in, you basically cease and you cut that particular connection every single time. So spaces, Black space, spaces like Black Vegfest, we do say you can come in, but there's a lot of other spaces out there that you cannot come into that particular space. You know that when it comes to the Jewish community, that they have a particular space that you need to respect that. You understand that when it comes to the Asian community and certain things that you don't understand. Just because, a lot of Black folks generally can speak English and you can understand English doesn't mean it's an invitation for you to come into that particular space. You need to request to come into that particular space. A lot of times that people are uneasy and allow you to come into that space when they otherwise will not allow you to come into that space. I'm going to get into who you should be listening to and not always your Black friend, okay? Because that person might not be able to give you the right particular information. That person might be suffering from anxiety, mental stress of you representing a particular community where like you have to feel good about that. And so they might not want to hurt your feelings. That happens often. Now, I hope you have that. Third piece, support calls for ending police murder and misconduct. That is pretty much clear, straightforward, and you be able to understand that. But I would ask that everyone, read this piece. So when it comes to things like protocols and contingency plans, when we're doing protests or marches, very clear, you have to follow what Black people are putting down. What is the purpose of these or the goals and objectives of these marches and these protests, right? Arrest, convict these officers. That's what needs to happen. That is the focus, not rioting. Any piece of rioting talk that we get. So people are going to riot, right? They're going to riot to the end. We know when that's going to end, right? We do not know when police are going to stop murdering us. Okay, so let's reframe that and put that squarely where they are. Folks are going to go ahead and riot up to the particular point. Now, let's be honest with it. All right, so we're talking about 400 years. in this particular situation. And we're talking about discrimination in jobs. So what you're not hearing from Black people right now, you're just hearing the spillover, right? In terms of us being murdered. But we're also discriminated against routinely. You run the media, right? So it's you telling this. So even when white Republicans are talking, it's like, what are you talking to yourselves? I mean, like, we do not run the media in this entire nation. We do not run the housing. Who runs the housing? Who's running real estate? Who's running these particular institutions? So we're talking about systemic racism. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about incarceration. That is what we're talking about. And we're addressing those particular issues that are so necessary and important to us when we're protesting. So if you go to a protest, first off, do not protest in residential neighborhoods. It's not necessary. The noise needs to be aimed at the power structures, wherever the power structures are. Where the bank is, that's where power structures are, where the courts are, where City Hall is, these political institutions. That is where, somebody doesn't want me to get this message out. So just be clear, do not do the organizing or the that work in the residential areas, because then you have people who are going to commit all types of illegal behavior, vandalizing. And what's going to happen? It doesn't matter if Black people are never touching anything. Who's going to be blamed? Who is going to be blamed all the time? Right. So, and we know media and people who are very skilled at media, even more, very much more so than me, professionals, just skilled. You're not just, just telling the news. You have a particular understanding of it and how messaging works. If you work in marketing, you understand how that works. If you talk about rioting more and study the issues, then the cops get to move and we get to talk less about police murder and less about misconduct. So we need to censor that and make sure we focus on that and defund policing as well. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that one because I think that's clear and straightforward. Number 4, white organizers mobilizing white forces on behalf of Black people. You have to stop the racism where you are. And how you do that, it's the same thing. And we talk about protocols, we talk about the leadership that needs to come from the community that is disenfranchised, the community that is maligned, that community essentially ignored routinely, right? So you need to start listening to it. So say if you are a white person and you're doing your very best, and we understand that, we can see that. You don't even have to articulate that. We can go ahead and see, if you're doing your absolute best. Now, what could confuse us is when you start doing something that, not helpful to us, but in your mind, it totally is. Why? Because you're probably going to bring up, you heard from a friend. You heard from this. Hey, man, don't worry about it. I know there's Black friends that'll tell you that, so they want to be comfortable. They want to work with you and have that relationship. The reality is you need to be talking to organizers, folks who are going to be unapologetically Black and speak from that particular point. Otherwise, there's nothing that you're doing. You're fulfilling, you wouldn't be fulfilling, anything, right? When we work for, for animals, we hear them 100% clearly as ARAs. We don't have to be told, you don't have to be told anything. We totally understand, and we're going to listen to animals, and we're going to struggle through that over and over and over and get it right. Even with an animal that we're not totally clear on what exactly it wants, we're going to go through it and through that process of listening and re-listening and making sure that there's no exploitation, there's no harm, going toward in this animal's way, right? But guess what? We're all human, we're speaking the same language. So if I say, don't do this in our community, if I say that, hey, we need resources concentrated, over here in this organization for activism, and not in white-led activist, organizations where they're going to steer that particular focus, away, then that needs to be listened to, right? That needs to be listened to. That needs to be carried out, as well. But mobilizing folks within the white community, and we always know, we always see it, and we can report on exactly what's happening. And then that's what some of the folks who are signing up, are committed to doing. And we're totally for that because that's an easy thing to do. We feel, and it's easy compared to if I have to. Me trying to convince your uncle who's a prosecutor is hard. For you, might not be so difficult, you know. But maybe it's not your uncle. Maybe it's just, somebody who's in your community. It'll resonate with you a lot more. When Black Vegfest came out, we had reached out to a lot of the Veg Fest. I had been speaking in the Veg Fest, community, and I realized something, that it was very white, right? And I said, like, it's not even gonna be helpful to animals. We got to get more people to be vegan. Uh, Also, a lot of Black vegans didn't know what to do, and it's like how can we connect with each other? How can we build? How can we talk about all the things that we think should be? How can we get into this conversation? And so when we did Black Veg Fest, I knew that it was going to be a lot of backlash because of the word black, and we get to be real with it. It was just the word black, right? And so reached out to a lot of different Veg Fests, and the first thing I asked for folks was, can you support this? Will you endorse? And I'm happy that a lot of Veg Fests were looking to support. And I did tell them, like, listen, veganism is white because the organizer like you is white, and because you do it, it's you're the reasoning. Um, you being white add more significance and brings white folks in there, but it's also how you market. You market in a particular way, in a particular fashion that brings the white community, right? So how to mobilize white forces. So we're saying that white organizers mobilize and organize white folks for Black justice. And so I'm going to go on to number 5. Respect Black lives. So we're respecting Black lives, right? And I want to read the first line, and the first 2 lines, actually. It's very important. White vegans, AR, support and protect all Black lives, regardless of sex, gender, sexual orientation, class, or ability. No Black lives are dispensable. So be very clear that we're not listening. So if you talk to one person in the Black community or Black organizer, we're not just saying that, hey, we only support cisgendered, Black vegans, or we only support able-bodied, Black vegans. We can talk about all Black people. And so that should be incredibly, clear. That should be even the easiest thing to represent and recognize folks' Blackness, and do recognize that LGBTQIA, folks recognize that they are Black. Okay, so they recognize that they are Black, and when they are discriminated against, they're discriminated. A Black trans is discriminated for being Black and for being trans, and that's happening, way too much. So the work that we're doing, we make sure that we hear trans, or we hear Black trans, we hear Black women speak. It goes right up to the top. So the same way we're saying that you have to, the most those who are the most maligned, the most marginalized, we need to be listening to. That's very simple and easy, right? Why else are we vegans?
Oh no. He just disappeared. I don't think he knows that he just disappeared. Hopefully he will. Actually, all right. So he will be back. He's on his phone, and I hope he recognizes that he stopped talking. And I don't have my Facebook open to write to him. Give me 1 second. Here it comes. This.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know why I have 2 of them.
You can get rid of one of them.
Okay.
You just disappeared in the middle, but I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, okay.
It's all
I'm
good.
on. Okay, okay. All right, awesome. So just to be very clear, just read the paragraphs, make sure folks read the paragraphs and understand the relationship. And I will continue with this respect Black Lives piece. So allyship and being accomplices means recognizing class and gender contradictions caused and stoked by white communities to maintain white rule and leave Black communities in constant state of panic and misery, systematically undermining our fight for love and justice within our community. This happens on a regular basis, right? So if you're familiar with redlining, Google that if you don't, if you're not. And that was systematically during, uh, that's been 50s, that's been pretty much, that's been every single year I've been alive. I've been hearing about it. So the legislation that came in to outlaw that was in the 70s. That still goes on right now. It's still hard to get along, whether we're talking business or we're talking housing. And you should see the information and the background of some of these folks who do have applications. And these are people essentially, because I want to say that redlining was done in a way that was to say that this particular community would only drive down cost of houses, right? Or real estate in general, whether we're talking about living or working. So that's just one of the examples. So I'm going to go forward to number 6, and that would lead me to white financial resources, right? And I'm going to read the last two pieces because I think they would get lost in the context with everything that's here. So white financial resources, white vegans, ARs who own property and business and enjoy higher economic statuses begin to utilize their financial resources for Black lives and dismiss all racist tropes about Black economics. Allyship and being accomplices means using your resources for Black justice and ending your promotion of products, services over Black life. And I'm gonna go work backwards. So when you worried so much about products being broken down, even though Target already said that, hey, it's okay, everybody is safe, we're going to pay for the workers, you still talking about Target. And Target is not even talking about Target, and so the problem with that is now we can't even hear a conversation about this Black man who's been murdered, George Floyd. We can't even hear about the other Black man who's trans, Tony McDade, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, that's in Kentucky. So we've been saying for so long that none of this is isolated. They're not isolated incidents. Essentially, it's recurring. It's all the time, and it's just within this particular time, it's even worse than it is. It's worse than it was in 2015. Obviously, because it's going to keep getting to a boiling point, and it's keep bigger and bigger, and getting bigger and bigger, and snowballing, into this flaming ball, right? And so, but also when we talk about Black economics, we have this idea, we talk about laziness. Now, so first, we don't we wouldn't in this country would not get lazy people to work, for 200 years, right? And so that's one, right? But then there's also it's just a way to systematically keep folks underpinning. Now, how do you keep people a poor workforce, that will do the menial jobs to keep society moving? You keep them down, right? Makes sense. You're not going to educate every single person to get to their highest potential, where they wouldn't feel like, hey, I'm going to pick up trash, or hey, I'm going to sell my body to do that, and it's nothing wrong with any of those particular jobs. However, people are put in those particular places, and if they had options, then they probably would side with the one that's less violent, less of a status knock or something, where you would be more uncomfortable and less productive and less well off financially. And so this constantly happens within our community when we talk about the financial resources that's coming in, that happens in our community. So when we see gentrification, we know how it looks, right? When the community starts looking better, right? So people would say all the time, essentially, oh, the community looks bad, right? So these are some of the things, the racist tropes that we get. The community is bad because y'all swear y'all keep it. Well, why all of a sudden did the city just clean this up? Why? Because white folks moved into the community. It's not like the white folks said, you know what? I'm going to go take out my broom and my dustpan, and I'm going to start cleaning up the block myself. I'm going to put money into construction. That does not happen. The city does that. That's the city's job. It means that they'll be at the borough, they'll be at the community boards, and they will they'll say that this needs to happen. We listen to white folks more, right? So, and I'll tell you, how I've been asking for plant-based milks for 15 years, in the Bronx, at least, right? 15 years ago, I've been asking for that. So Bronx is the poorest congressional district. Bronx has the poorest congressional district in the entire nation, right? The 15th congressional district. So what you have is this situation where, poor people are in a desperate situation, right? They're just in a desperate situation. So the resources, they don't come to our community. When they do come in, it's essentially they go to places like Yankee Stadium. So Bronx is the poorest congressional district, right? However, it was in 2005, it was still the poorest congressional district. So they came in and they said that we're going to bring a new Yankee Stadium. So Yankees is the winningest baseball team, one of the richest baseball teams. I don't know if it's still the richest baseball team. However, they built the new Yankee Stadium right across the street from the old one, right? So community basically said, no, we don't want it. You can have it. We don't want to do it. Doesn't matter. It still came and it still happened. That was an incredible project that the Yankees did not pay for. Just at least minimum was $400 million just for transportation to get people in and out of the stadium. Does Yankees bring any money back in? No. The richest, the winningest baseball team, one of the richest baseball team, still is in and has no problem with being in a poorest congressional district and not giving anything back, to that neighborhood. So this happens everywhere we are, right? It happens every single where. It even happens when we talk about water, no water for Detroit, right? So when we talk about no water for Detroit, now all of a sudden we have money. We have $1,200 or whatever amount, for unemployment, $600, plus. We could pay for that, but we could not give a Flint, not Detroit, Flint, Michigan, water, right? So this is what's happening into our community. So now we're coming to this particular part where now we're getting killed, outright, right? Again, continuously, and it's being caught on camera, and it's like it's a slap in the face. Like what? And they still, we have to, really like bring help, in order for folks to just get arrested for manslaughter. That is a slap in the face to everyone, and so that is just totally problematic. So anyway, so the financial resources that white folks have, bringing those resources into our communities, into organized capacities where they can be utilized, that's actual work. that's actually putting back, into communities that you destabilize. And I say you destabilize them, because, I don't want to beat around and, with anything. Like, white folks is essentially, like, it doesn't mean that everybody's in the same party. It doesn't mean that everybody's in the same aims, but it means that not enough white folks are doing enough work. And that's really the clear part, and need to be told that on a regular basis. And folks are tired, but this strategy right now is essentially that we're convening is letting white folks know what the issues are unapologetically, very clearly, very transparent, and being open to questions. So I'm gonna go to white media. So in terms of questions, we look for white media to be asking us questions that makes sense, but really opening their platform. So I appreciate this, Helen. Thank you for opening your platform and allow me to, to put that information out there. And this is what white folks who do have that resource and do have access to media should be doing. This is what you're doing. Just showing, a particular, just being left to your own devices to send something out, or to be like, hey, follow Omowale. No, you're not following Omowale. You are helping in empowering the white base, so they organize and so they work, and they help understand as much as possible, right? What the issues are, and they listen to the leadership. They listen to Black leadership, and respectable Black leadership. I'm not telling you to go ahead and listen to somebody that you might have seen over there. If anybody is, not opportunists, and you're going to find opportunists because they're not going to tell you exactly what you need to do. They're not going to hold you accountable, and they're going to leave opportunities for you to be able to shirk your responsibility every single chance you get, as long as their coffers are full. And that's not the case here. And so we're asking folks, and so we go to the vegan community because I know the vegan community can hold it and do that long haul because they're organizers. We're talking about a base of activists over years. This should be simple. Working on so many other species, we could definitely work within our own species. So white media, it's real simple, is taking the messaging and putting it out there, but also not being unclear and not trying to create propaganda, not being able to, not creating noise, not talking about riot before we even talk about the murder of Black people, right? And stop just talking about George Floyd. I'm gonna tell you, that was incredibly painful, and brought tears to my eyes and so many Black men that I know, right? But it is not about him. It is not about him. So we don't want to hear from the family. Don't go sharing what the family said and talking about forgiveness. We do not forgive that We do not forgive. I'm be honest with you. We do not forgive killer cops. If you do that within your own circles, if you do not, where you do not do that, that is not a general thing that folks do. They do not forgive folks doing that over and over again in a consistent basis. And we're not talking about specific individual cops, right? We're talking about the entire police state and how the police move. So we're not talking about your cousin. We're not talking about family members that are cops within my family. We're not talking about that. I'm talking clearly about them and everybody, but I'm talking about the system, and how that moves. When that system changes, we're going to bang on that system until that system changes, to be very clear. That is essentially, anything else doesn't make any sense. We should not be killed for any, people shouldn't just run out and just shoot like Amadou Diallo, Timothy Stansbury. We have no idea. We still don't even have answers for Sandra Bland, and nobody was held responsible for Sandra Bland. Nobody was held responsible for Corin Gaines, okay, who tried to protect herself and her son, and she was murdered. And her son, her 3-year-old son, was shot. Okay, so it feels like a lot of times we in a different world, and so that messaging needs to get out in the white community, and white media needs to put that out there, and yes, we kudos to that when that happens, when it happens, but it hardly does happen. It's a short list of folks who have been supporting, and we appreciate that support. We would like to see a lot more, and we would like to help in strengthening the organizing ability around defending Black lives. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. A couple of questions for you that came in while you were speaking. I was going to interrupt you. Was first going backwards to how do you ask permission to enter the spaces? Right. So
Oh,
you
good
said,
question.
right.
Great. So first thing is always ask the organizers and activists, those who are leading that particular space. Always ask them if you can be within that space. Why do you want to be that space? But that should be the first question. Why would you want to be in that space? If you want to be in that space because you just want to fellowship, that's fine. That is not a problem in and of itself. If you recognize that particular space is more sacred in terms of like we're doing meditation and we're chilling, no, you cannot be in that space. Do not ask to be in that particular space. Save yourself the time. Now, look at it this way. I want you to look at it this way so we can understand this. Should I go ahead and ask a woman or women if I can enter this particular space? I know that they literally just said ladies out, ladies night, right? No, I should not be asking to be in that particular space. You know what I mean? And I can apply that to, trans. I can apply. Listen, I'm not telling you this shit is easy. This shit ain't easy to try to figure it out. You know what I mean? But if I'm talking to somebody, I don't totally understand trans now. But here's the simplest thing. Here's what it makes it easy. All I got to do is respect them. That's all I have to do. I really only have to just remember their pronouns and respect them. If I make a mistake, then, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I need to get your pronouns correctly,
Yes.
And then use those pronouns and then, or just use them's names. They have to tell me whatever the case may be. This shit ain't supposed to be easy for you. You can't create a situation like that, what it is. And we talking about ancestry, right? We have this is what's in our laps right now. You didn't ask for it. I didn't ask for this. We just have it. And so we have to work it out best way possible. But ask the leadership every single time. They should actually give you an answer that is clear. And they should respect that you did ask. But if you asking, to just be in a particular space that doesn't look like it's it's just a gathering where they're just having a social fun and it just just hanging out and they're just ask. Just ask.
Right. Just communicate.
We'll probably tell you no. Right.
Just communication is key. It's very there was a thank you to that, and there was a comment to create a dialogue. And the other question is, or two of them, are you saying that one-on-one outreach does not work? Or are you saying that mass outreach is more effective? So going backwards again.
Oh, okay. Good questions. So first, one-on-one works well. Again, when you're talking to leadership, you can have these conversations. But I'm gonna be honest with you. You can have these conversations, with your friends. You're gonna have this conversation with your friends. Politics, and I always say this. I worked for an elected official about 8 years. I used to, be behind some campaigns, successful state senatorial campaigns, and throughout New York City, right? And politics is not easy just because it's accessible to you, just because you can participate in it and and voting. It's a little bit tough. It's a little bit tough. So therefore, you're gonna talk to, your white friend who's not keen on, how do you actually segue into a space? They might bring you to a particular party, right? And you think that's legitimate. The person, my friend, brought me to, a particular party. Turns out it's not really a party. We're just trying to connect, Black men are trying to connect with each other, or Black, people are connecting with, with each other. Like with Black Vegfest, we write on it that everybody can come, right? So just respect certain spaces. We might have Black space within Black Vegfest, in the coming time. So far, it's not, but it'll come, and you wouldn't be able to go in that particular space. But you ask a lot of the folks, and every a great time, because we just have that expression of love. But we will tell you not to come in that space if you're talking to leadership. You have your conversation with your friend. Nobody's going to tell you, not to. You're going to know your Black friend better than me. But do not, under any circumstances, think just because you have a Black friend or you talk to a Black friend that will connect and resonate with me. Now, the organizing, if you're talking about one-on-one with white people.
He froze up. Hopefully it unfreezes. Oh, we lost him again. All right. I'm sure he'll be back because he was back last time. This is actually pretty incredible. I don't know how all of you are feeling about it, but there's so much more we can do. Let's put it that way. Here we go.
Huh?
All right, there you are. Okay.
Nah.
Hey.
Okay. So you just respect the conversation. If you're talking about how you organize with white people, that's for you. You recognize the best way. You're going to have the best answer for that. Whether we're talking about one-on-one or we're talking about via a group. And I guess you had to be talking about organizing white people, right? Because or having the conversation. You talking about organizing or just in terms of having conversation?
Let's see if he'll write back in regards to that. But you can.
The outreach. Going. Oh, okay. She said outreach, yeah. So I'm assuming mass outreach is definitely within the white community. You should definitely do it. If you're white, you should definitely be organizing in the white community. So we're trying to prevent racism from getting into our community, right? So we definitely need to have that. And your approach, it's varied. The approach is going to be varied. You have effective plan. Then I'm always for trying to do mass outreach. That is incredibly effective. If you are skilled at doing mass outreach, you would like to help to support and organize, white folks, then definitely I want to ask you to connect and build, do the 7 points. We have white leadership, for you to actually work with too. Some folks who are animal rights activists and also about doing this particular justice work.
No, this has been it's been a really wild week, and it's just an inkling, a sample of what hell a person can go through over the course of your whole life because of your skin color. Standing up for Black Lives Matter, posting on all my accounts, and 2 of them went out of control. At 2:30 in the morning, one of my accounts went out of control because I posted Black Lives Matter. And the next day, it's still going. It's been 3 days, I think, 3 days. It's still going. The comments are still going. A lot of the All Lives Matter has come up often. And I just kind of, it's not that I gave up, I left it up because I wasn't going to take it down. And you know what? Mm-hmm. Everyone can see who you are. And most of the people, I would say 90-95% get it, right? Mm-hmm. It's that 5 to 10% that are, but there's so much support on those 5 or 10
can be destructive.
Yes, their voices are louder. The people who yell the loudest seem to get heard, and they know how to yell. And it's been really hard because I've gotten hate mail. I got hate mail because I posted Black Lives Matter on one of my pages. And I was like to Steven, my boyfriend, I said, I got hate mail. I was like, this is 2 days of my life. It's a week of my life. This is your whole life. Right. And it's frustrating. It makes you angry. I just, no, you have to. We have to speak up. The only way there'll be change, the only single way there'll be change is if we speak up. And I mean that by white people. We have to speak up because we are the ones that get the change to happen. Because somehow people listen to us, to do the right thing, to treat human beings like they're human beings. That's what we have to do. And that's just not, obviously, for a lot of people I know, a lot of unfollowing this week, a lot of unfriending this week is because people are just posting stuff that I'm done. I can't deal with you. And I would like to stay open because obviously I want to spread veganism. If somebody decides to pick up plant-based milk instead of dairy milk because of something I posted, that's fantastic. I don't care anymore. Yeah. Like, you know what? You are so set in your racist ways. There's nothing I can say. Nothing.
I think that I think what has to happen, like we have unfriended people who routinely say things like, "Are you getting enough protein?" or making jokes about veganism, or suggesting that plants feel pain, and so on and so forth, or just asking ridiculous. After a while, like, if they really feel like, if they disrespect us enough where they're not even trying to hide anything, they're not trying to get any information, we let them go, right? So like, if I find that there might be folks in my community who are not totally supportive of Black trans and understanding of LGBTQ community, then we won't be able to have a relationship. So this is what intersectionality looks like. This is what I've been doing for a very long time. It's this, what needs to happen is that we want other folks to feel that difficulty as well. We spread out that difficulty instead of it being stacked on the same shoulders every single day. So this is what the problem is. I had saw somebody had posted, and one woman, Black woman, had posted about, hey, when was the first time that you had a gun pull a gun on you, right? It wasn't if you were stopped, right? It wasn't if you were, driving and stop and frisk. It was if you had a gun pulled on you. She already knew I'm going to get a main, and I already was like, I already have incidents. What age were you? And I saw someone else, exact same thing as me, and he just said, 2 cops, 2 guns. Same thing with me. 2 cops, 2 guns. He was with someone else. I was with someone else. We were both at the same age, 18. We could have both been dead right then and there. I didn't get his reasoning because all he said was 2 cops, 2 guns. And he said he had one person with him, put a name on there, whatever. And I kind of just described a little bit of my story, but, going to basketball practice, with another team, just a little younger than me. We are holding basketball gear. We have basketball, gear with us, bag. We look like we're going to play basketball. We're going to the school. We're both on the basketball team. They ran up so anxiously, and clumsily. We could have been killed just right then and there. We'd have made a step. So that's kind of the issue, and that's 18. That's not the times that that's not the first time that I'm stopped. That's just the first time that I have a gun. A cop is pulling a gun in, on my face. So anytime anybody even calls the police, I said, listen, I've not spent one day, in jail, so you can call them, you know what I mean? It's just going to be a lot of arrests that I have, a lot of detaining, and this because, being Black, that's reality, you know what I mean? But sometimes we're actually killed, we know the story, George Floyd, $20 counterfeit. We talking about that more than anything. We talking about that. We like that even comes up to the, to kind of like balance the, the reasoning that the cop had, so that's where the problem is. And this is where we have to, Helen, you have to feel uneasy, and then other white folks got to feel uneasy. And then other white folks, I believe, will get it, at some point they need to, if there is enough, white people who are looking to organize and do the right thing the same way they do it in veganism. That's what we're saying. We listen, I'm over here talking to plants and snails. That's the work that I want to be doing. I'm growing food, 20 different, varieties. That's the work that I would like to be doing. This is not fun. We had a protest. I'm like, I feel like if I'm not at a protest being utilized, then what am I? I'm able-bodied. I'm actually, a strong person. I can articulate a message. I need to be there. You understand? Like I am literally obligated. Harriet Tubman in Freeing Her People said that she felt obligated. This is a woman who literally did not, first of all, she wasn't literate. She was not literate. She was told a little, she was educated a little bit. This is my foremost heroine. And she felt that she just had to do it. And this is a lot of Black people that we have to do it. Yeah, it's a lot of us who can't or tried, and they said, you know what, I'm done right now. This is ridiculous. I don't even, I don't know what to do. So you got to come to the people who want to do something and who know what to do, and who are, and the folks could get you information, because just sharing something is not enough. It's the beginning. It's great. It's a great start, but it's definitely it's more needed, and it's more work. I understand that animal, community, non-human animals, they don't communicate in the same way, so they don't come as harsh, and they're not as angry. They don't come until you get to a point where the elephant, goes crazy. Remember when the elephant goes crazy, the whole town, they riot. Don't care if it's in India, don't care if it's in US. They done had enough. They all jump in, right? And then what do white vegans say? They say,
oops. Hopefully you're not locked again. Please work. Oh. When he comes back, I'll definitely ask him for the other comment. And, I think his phone just kind of goes, all right, you've got this amount of time, and then we're going to cut out. And then we're going to give you another time, and you're going to cut out. Here we go. Oh, please come back. This was our tech issue. The first time is I couldn't hear him or see him. So I don't know if you can hear me, but we can't see you or hear you. If you have to, there you go. There he is.
Okay, we're back.
I'll cut this stuff out for you. Live. So there is a statement though. Please comment about the statement. Do all the cops are bad, or if there are bad apples in every basket and they need to be put to justice?
So I'm gonna look at the comment again. Comment on the statement. All cops, like, listen. I go with. I don't trust any of the cops. They all work. They work for the same. They work for the same purpose. Like you gotta understand. That's what I'm saying. Like, well, politics is not simple. It's not something that's essentially, simple and easy. So in my situation, where two cops came upon me, you know what I mean? Like, there was only two. Two of two put guns on me. It wasn't like one put gun on me and another one said, oh, I'm gonna put my gun on after that. They both pull their guns out, and that's at the same time. We were children. Same thing with the other gentleman. I have to, propose. He had two guns on him. When you look at the situation, we only saw 4 cops on George Floyd. All 4 cops was part of it. One cop was telling everybody, to get back off there and threatening everybody. And the rest of the 3 cops, what were they doing? On top of George Floyd. So, but get it from this perspective, right? So that's just the visuals, right? So that's the optics. But also understand like the police, they follow a particular protocol, right? They listen to what they've been told, right? They're told something and they follow that. You've heard the term people don't follow orders, people get hurt, right? Something to that effect, at least. So they follow a particular, they command, they command and they take the information and they and they move out. They don't come in there. I don't see cops. They come in. Well, we shouldn't do that. They don't stop. With their partners, they don't go in and stop. Hey, hold on, guy. I don't think we should be doing that. They rarely do that. When they do that, in this New York City, there's some court proceedings that are happening. They get arrested. Those cops are fired. Okay. Those cops, when they talk about sergeants, where the sergeant is saying that, hey, we need to arrest more Black people, right? That's what they say. More Black, more Latinos, right? So this is things that they actually say. That's caught on tape. That's on YouTube. It's out there so we can hear. And so this is cops who are recording, right? So the good cops who are recording. What happens to the good cops? They become no cops. So there are no good cops. They don't stay on the force. They do not stay on the force. So no, there is no such thing as like they're good cops, because we're talking about a system anyway. Like say for instance, we are talking about good cops and maybe the individuals are great. It's possible that these folks were really good people. Once they put that uniform on and they go out there and they're giving a task to have a certain amount of arrests, and also a certain amount of tickets. They have a quota. They keep that under wraps. That was also recorded, and people know about it. That's the end of it. There is a hierarchy that they have to uphold. So if they told them to arrest somebody, if the cops said, you need to arrest Omowale, what they gonna do? You know what I mean? What if the sergeant said that? If the lieutenant said it, if the inspector, whoever, the captain or whoever, the chief, if they say arrest Omowale, they're gonna follow orders and they're gonna arrest me. So it's the same thing. It's not like they're all teachers. It's not like a teacher. Teachers might have a little bit more leeway, right? You could talk about other particular jobs where they have more leeway, but there's more of an oath of being an officer, right? To listen to these particular camps. They're paramilitary, right? So they're paramilitary. So therefore, just like soldiers, they have to be told something and then they carry it out. They don't come in there and be like, well, I'm coming in, I'm going to protect Black people today. I don't care what my superiors say. It doesn't happen. So I want to be clear on that point.
No, thank you. And thank you for the great questions and comments about what we're talking about here today. I just want to go into one thing that you spoke about in regards to the organizers you reached out to before you started Black Vegfest. And you recognized that there were a lot of people that were white who were organizing these events, and that the events kind of reflected, who was organizing it. I want to say something a comment that was said to me from our last year Triangle Vegfest in Durham, North Carolina, by one of our speakers.
Okay.
He looked around on the education day and he said, this event actually reflects the community. And Durham is a multicultural community, many people of color, many different people. And as he looked around, he felt that Durham was represented. And that was the most ultimate compliment that I could receive, because we want to reach to community, not the white community. We want to reach people who are interested in veganism, who will come and get educated by our dedicated education day with these awesome speakers. And it was, and the festival day was the same. And that's just, we're doing something right when the community shows up for an event and it represents the community. Because that's what it needs to be. And a lot of our events are in diverse communities. Nashville, Tennessee is another one. Durham, North Carolina. Not all of them. Oh, we lost him again. I'm so sorry. He'll be back, I'm sure. This has been, again, absolutely amazing. And if you don't follow Black Vegfest, please do. You can find it as Black Vegfest on Instagram and on Facebook. And you can follow him as well. On Instagram, it's his full name. So here it comes. All right, it'll just take a moment for him to come into the picture. There you are. All right.
Are you with me?
There you go. I've got you. Yeah, no, it's great. I actually told people to find you, Black Vegfest on Instagram, and your full name on Instagram. So you're the perfect, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my 7th year of doing Triangle Vegfest. I think
last year.
Last year, I don't even know, 6th year of doing Triangle Vegfest last year. And, we've worked hard to make an event. And then another story that was really important, and I throw this out to a member of our community, is that wrote to me in 2016 to tell me that our lineup of speakers was not diverse enough. Now, I'm going to be honest, naively, I thought she meant topic. And that was, I was like, what do you mean it's not diverse enough? I've got this and I've got that. And it was in writing. So, and then she was like, you don't understand. And then after the conversation ended and it got heated, because I was like, right before the event, which right before the event, you're extremely stressed and you're really busy. And this was early. This is the 14, 15. This is the 3rd year. And it's still really stressful. And I like finished the conversation and I went, oh, she's not talking about what they're talking about. She's talking about my lineup
right.
of people.
Right.
And since that moment, I mean, we've talked about it. It's become a very important part of our events, is that they're diversified, that it's hard, it's not always easy when the majority of speakers actually are not people of color. It's really easy to be like, well, we'll just do this person and that doctor and this doctor. So it was, so, I mean, it's a completely different world for me personally. You learned a lot doing this. And this is, I don't even know if we were back in 2004. I'm going to say it again. I don't know if we were back in 2014, if I would be doing what I am today. I would hope that I would, but I don't know. So it's because of doing these events that I'm where I am right now, and the people that I've met, my friends, everybody. So here we go. He'll be back and said, could you talk to how white vegans can decenter ourselves? Okay. Thank you, Lauren. His phone is like, stop talking on me. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. All right. I just keep talking. So good. There is a comment. There is a question. Can you talk to how white vegans can decenter ourselves? Did you hear that?
Yeah. I see that. I'll answer that question. But there's a protest that's happening. I have to get to. I said I was going. But could you talk to how white vegans can decenter ourselves? That's all in the conversation that we've been having.
And it's okay, because if Lauren probably, I don't know if she was there the whole time, but if you actually go backwards and start from the beginning, if you were not with us, there's There's a lot of answers to that. So I get that you have to go, and your phone, I think, wants you to go as well, because he's locked up again. And hopefully he's okay. So he's going to have to go. I'm sure he's going to come back. I'd like him to say goodbye and, say, whatever he needs to say to close this out. But just so you know, you can definitely follow Black Vegfest, and you can follow him on Instagram. And let me see, we can do this. We can close it out. All right, here we go. Thank you for watching and participating. Thank you, Lauren. I don't think he's gonna be able to get to it though. I think he's all right. Yeah. So how about you close it out? She has been watching the whole time, but you can respond. You can actually write. You can write to her later and respond in the comments, because I know you have to go. I know it's really important. I know there's a lot going on in New York City. So
I can't hear you too well. But I'm gonna try to answer her question really briefly. So the first thing is to go and check the 7 points, but also have an idea and understanding in your mind that we're going to protest until we get justice. Now, if that stops and we don't get justice, right, then that's going to continue. And if it stops and we don't get justice, that means that someone's come in and shortcutted our protests, our calls for justice, and we did not have enough white folks to stop, those who are preventing our justice. It's not Black people in front of us, right? So even the Black people that are there, that are speaking a lot of the time, if they're a mayor, what does their city council look like? If it's
oh no. Okay. I'm pretty sure he'll come back. But just so you know, our next talk is on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, and it's with Kimberly Barnes. She's absolutely incredible. She'll have a lot to say. I met her in Atlanta. And then on Saturday, we are with Dr. Tiana Jenkins, and we'll go back to the topic of health with Dr. Tiana Jenkins on Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll be back. Technology is awesome. Thank you for sticking with us. Okay, there you are.
Hey.
Hey. All right. Do you want to close it out?
So, yes. Before we get we cut off.
Yes. So I've said how to find you, but is there any last words you want to say to close this out? Because it's your platform.
Yeah. I would say if the most that you can do is go ahead and listen and not add to the noise about like what is not going right for you and how you want to see it in terms of like what rioting or how people are speaking and expressing the protests. The most that you can contribute to it, just don't answer anything. Don't bring any of that up. Forever, I mean, and until you see justice, until there's actual justice, you know what I mean?
Oh no. I think we're gonna lose them. But you can go to blackvegfest.com. If you go to blackvegfest.com, you'll see the flyer that we have up on the screen, and there's a link below it. And you click that link and you get to the 7 points, which you can read, and then he has you sign it You put your name in, you put your information in, and your contact info, and you're basically agreeing to the 7 points of allyship. And that is probably the best thing that I can say. I did it. I did it before this. We set this up 2 days ago, or yesterday actually. I set it up yesterday to do this today. So I thank him for joining us. I hope that he will be safe, because obviously he's going to go out and protest in New York City now. And the rest of us, we just have to keep doing what's right, and not just for the animals, but for human beings as well. Let's not forget that we have to take care of people and animals. Stay home if you can, wash your hands, or wear your mask, and be safe, because even though they're protesting, there's still a deadly virus out there, especially in New York, which is getting better. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Thursday at 4 p.m. Hopefully with no tech issues. Bye, everyone.